Let's talk about Aristotle. Now, his name might sound familiar, but his ideas are probably even more familiar than you think. Whether we're talking about philosophy, science, or even politics, his fingerprints are absolutely everywhere. He was, without a doubt, one of the most systematic thinkers in the ancient world. So today, we're going to unpack his incredible blueprint for, well, understanding reality itself. And to really get a feel for how important this guy was, just look at the company he kept. He wasn't just a student of Plato, he was the star pupil at the famous academy. And then he goes on to personally tutor Alexander the Great. Yeah, that Alexander the Great. This is the mind that basically laid the groundwork for Western logic, ethics, and science. So when we say his influence is staggering, that's really not an exaggeration. Okay, so where did this journey start? Well, he was born way back in 384 BCE and made his way to Athens to study with the one and only Plato. But here's the thing about Aristotle. He was never just going to be someone's follower. After his gig tutoring a young Alexander, he came back to Athens and started his own school, the Lyceum. And this place, it became a research powerhouse where he really hammered out his entire philosophical system. Pretty wild that he actually had to flee Athens right at the end of his life. All right, let's get to the very heart of his ethics. It all comes down to this one big, powerful idea, eudaimonia. Now, you'll often see this translated as happiness, right? But it's kind of misleading. It's so much more than that. See, for Aristotle, this wasn't about feeling good for a moment. It's about human flourishing. It's about living a life that reaches its absolute fullest potential, a life of excellence. You could say it's the ultimate goal, the whole point of everything we do. So you might be asking, okay, great, but how do I actually get there? Well, Aristotle doesn't just leave us hanging. He gives us a practical toolkit. First up, practice. Virtues like courage or honesty, you're not just born with them. They're like muscles. You have to build them up through habit. Step two, you got to find the mean. Think of it as the sweet spot in any situation, right between two extremes. And the thing that ties it all together is what he called phronesis, or practical wisdom. That's the real-world skill of knowing how to apply all this stuff when life gets messy. Now, this is super important, and it's a place where a lot of people get Aristotle wrong. When he talks about the mean, he does not mean being mediocre or just average. No way. It's all about finding the appropriate action for you in a specific situation. Let's take courage. It's the mean between being a coward and being reckless, right? But what's courageous for a soldier in battle is totally different from what's courageous for a student speaking up in class. It's all about context. It's a way more sophisticated idea than it sounds. So you see how practical his ethics are? Well, all that advice is actually built on a much deeper foundation, his theory of reality itself. Aristotle believed that to truly understand anything in the world, you had to ask four fundamental questions. He called them the four causes. Take a bronze statue. To get it, you need to know, what's it made of? Bronze. What's its form? The sculptor's idea. What actually made it? The sculptor's hands and tools. And finally, what's its purpose? To be a work of art. For Aristotle, if you didn't have all four answers, you didn't have the full story. And this whole framework of his, it helps us tackle one of the biggest puzzles out there. How do things change? How does a tiny acorn become a massive oak tree? Aristotle's answer is brilliant. He talks about potentiality and actuality. An acorn, right now, is an acorn. That's its actuality. But locked inside it is the potentiality to become an oak tree. So change, for Aristotle, is just that process. It's a thing moving from what it could be to what it actually is. Simple, but so powerful. So when we pull back and look at the big picture, what did he really leave us with? Honestly, it's staggering. His whole idea of eudaimonia is the bedrock of modern virtue ethics. His four causes gave us a language for science and philosophy that we are still using today. He practically invented the field of formal logic. And crucially, he connected the dots, showing that you can't have good people without a good society. Your personal ethics are tied directly to politics and education. From the purpose of a human life all the way down to the cause of a simple object, Aristotle tried to create the single, coherent system to explain it all. He gave us a blueprint for reality. And that really just leaves one final question for you. When you look at the world around you, what's your blueprint? How do you explain it?